But Phoebus much repented that he sware, and thrice and 4 times shook his radiant head. Ah, would I might refuse my plighted word, and oh that it were lawful to deny the promised boon. For I confess, O son, this only I should keep from thee, and yet 'tis lawful to dissuade, it is unsafe to satisfy thy will. It is a great request, O Phaëthon, which neither suits thy utmost strength nor tender years, for thou art mortal, and thou hast aspired to things immortal. Ignorance has made thy thought transcend the province of the gods. I vaunt no vain exploits, but only I can stand securely on the flame-fraught axle-tree, even the ruler of Olympian gods, who hurls fierce lightnings with his great right hand, may never dare to drive this chariot, and what art thou to equal mighty Jove? The opening path is steep and difficult, for scarcely can the steeds, refreshed at dawn, climb up the steeps. And when is reached the height, extreme, of midmost heaven, and sea and earth are viewed below, my trembling breast is filled with fearful apprehensions, and requires the last precipitous descent a sure command. Then, also, Tethys, who receives me in her subject waves, is wont to fear, lest I should fall disastrous. And around the hastening sky revolves in constant whirl, drawing the lofty stars with rapid twist. I struggle on. The force that overcomes the heavenly bodies overwhelms me not, and I am borne against that rapid globe. Suppose the chariot thine. What canst thou do? Canst thou drive straight against the twisted pole, and not be carried from the lofty path by the swift car? Art thou deceived to think there may be groves and cities of the gods, and costly temples wondrously endowed? The journey is beset with dreadful snares and shapes of savage animals. If thou shouldst hold upon thy way without mistake, yet must thy journey be through Taurus' horns, and through the Bohemonian, and the jaws of the fierce lion, and the cruel arms of Scorpion, bent throughout a vast expanse, and Cancer's curving arms reversely bent. It is no easy task for thee to rule the mettled 4-foot steeds, inflamed in fires that kindle in their breasts, forth issuing in breathings from their mouths and nostrils hot. I scarce restrain them, as their struggling necks pull on the harness, when their heated fires are thus aroused. And, O my son, lest I may be the author of a baneful gift, beware, and as the time permits recall thy rash request. Forsooth thou hast besought undoubted signs of thy descent from me. My fears for thee are certain signs that thou art of my race. By my paternal fears, 'tis manifest I am thy father. Lo, behold my countenance, and oh, that thou couldst even pierce my bosom with thine eyes, and so discover my paternal cares. Look round thee on the treasured world's delights, and ask the greatest blessing of the sky, or sea or land, and thou shalt suffer no repulse. But only this I must deplore, which rightly named would be a penalty, and not an honour. Thou hast made request of punishment, and not a gift indeed. O witless boy, why dost thou hold my neck with thy caressing arms? For doubt it not, as I have sworn it by the Stygian waves, whatever thou shalt wish, it shall be given, but thou shouldst wish more wisely. So were all his admonitions said, availing naught, for Phaëthon resisted his advice, and urged again his claim, and eagerly burned to use the chariot. Wherefore, Phoebus, long delaying and reluctant, took the youth to view the spacious chariot, gift of Vulcan. Gold was the axle, and the beam was gold, the great wheel had a golden tire and spokes of silver, chrysolites and diamonds reflected from the spangled yoke, the light of Phoebus. While aspiring, Phaëthon admired the glittering chariot and its workmanship, the vigilant Aurora opened forth her purple portals from the ruddy east, disclosing halls replete with roses. All the stars took flight, while Lucifer, the last to quit his vigil, gathered that great host and disappeared from his celestial watch. And when his father, Phoebus, Titan, saw the earth and the wide universe in glowing tints arrayed, as waned the moon's diminished horns, far distant, Then he bade the nimble Horae to yoke the steeds. At once the deities accomplished his commands, and led the steeds, ambrosia-fed and snorting flames, from out their spacious stalls, and fixed their sounding bits. Then with a hallowed drug the father touched the stripling's face, to make him proof against the rapid flame, and wrought around his hair the sun rays. But, foreboding grief, he said, while many a sigh heaved from his anxious breast, if thou canst only heed thy father's voice, be sparing of the whip, and use with nerve the reins, for of their own accord the steeds will hasten. Difficult are they to check in full career. Thou must not drive the car directly through 5 circles, for the track takes a wide curve, obliquely, and is bound by the extreme edge of 3 zones. It avoids the southern pole, and it avoids the bear that roams around the north. The way is plain. The traces of the wheel are manifest. Observe with care that both the earth and sky have their appropriate heat. Drive not too low, nor urge the chariot through the highest plain. For if thy course attain too great a height, thou wilt consume the mansions of the sky, and if too low, the land will scorch with heat. Take thou the middle plain, where all is safe, nor let the wheel turn over to the right and bear thee to the twisted snake, nor let it take thee to the altar on the left, so close to earth, but steer the middle course. To fortune I commit thy fate, whose care for thee so reckless of thyself I pray. While I am speaking, humid night has touched the margin of Hesperian shores. 'Tis not for us to idle, we are called away. When bright aurora shines, the darkness flies. Take up the reins, but if thy stubborn breast be capable of change, use not our car, but heed my counsel while the time permits, and while thy feet are on a solid base, but not, according to thy foolish wish, pressing the axle. Rather let me light the world beneath thy safe and wondering gaze. But Phaëthon with youthful vigour leaped, and in the light-made chariot lightly stood. And he rejoiced, and with the reins in hand thanked his reluctant parent. Instantly Eus, Aethon, Pyrrhae, and Phlegon, the winged horses of the sun, gave vent to flame-like neighs that filled the shaking air. They pawed the barriers with their shining hoofs. Then Tethys, witless of her grandson's fate, let back the barriers, and the universe was theirs to traverse. Taking the well-known road, and moving through the air with winged feet, they pierced resisting clouds, and spreading wide their pinions soared upon the eastern wind, far wafted from that realm. But Phaëthon, so easy of their yoke, lost all control, and the great car was tossed. As tapered ships, when lightened of their ballast, toss and heave unsteady in the surging seas, the car leaped lightly in the air, and in the heights was tossed unsteady as an empty shell. Soon as the steeds perceived it, with a rush impetuous, they left the beaten track, regardless of all order and control, and Phaëthon, filled with fear, knew not to guide with trusted reins, nor where the way might be, nor, if he knew, could he control their flight. Warmed in the sunshine, never felt before, the gelid Trionas attempted vain to bathe in seas forbid, the serpent cold and torpid by the frozen pole, too cold for contest, warmed and rage assumed from heat booties, troubled by the heat, took flight, impeded by his wane.